Welcome back to the channel, folks. It's Blast from the Past, where I show you some old videos of me riding, because no one goes back on YouTube and looks at what you did back in 2011, I think is when these videos I downloaded came from. You know, back when I was riding an XR650R and hitting some gnarly single track. No one goes back and watches these old videos. So this way, you get to kind of watch my old videos. You get to see how things have changed over time with my riding ability and etc. And I find it very interesting to rewatch these while I talk. And I think it makes for a good visual as I talk about various topics. Well, today we're going to talk about service animals. And wow, you know, I just had my first Karen experience at a Taco Bell in Monument, Colorado. This lady right here, man, she went wild on this guy and his, I assume, wife sitting back in a corner booth away from everyone else. They had one of those little dogs. I don't know what type of dog, just one of those little dogs that, you know, you would call them yippers or something, but this one was quiet, wasn't making a sound. She went up to the guy and actually confronted him and said, you know, you can't have animals in here. And he said, it's a service animal, to which she said, no, it's not. I own a service animal. That's not a service animal. And got real heated. By the time I got my phone out and, you know, figured out the icon and figured out, you know, instead of photo, video, and held it up and started taking video, she actually ended the conversation and just walked away in a huff with this smirk on her face like, I'm right, you're wrong type. Just, I don't know. I've seen these people out there in life that give that smirk about any topic. They think they're right. They're smiling. They're smirking. Like, oh, no, I'm right. And I'm going to let you know that I'm right. Who knows if she's right or not? Is that a real service animal? I have no idea. The guy claimed it was. She claimed it's not. Well, you know, unfortunately here in the United States, what makes it very complicated about service animals is you don't need to have any licensing. You don't need professional training. In fact, if I needed a service animal, I could train it myself and call it a service animal. So if you want to get upset about anyone, get upset about the rules or regulations. Now there's, from my understanding, let me know in the comments, but from my understanding is that the reason they let you train your own service animal is to help the affordability of obtaining or having a so-called service animal. And I say so-called because, well, can you train it to do these things that other professional organizations can, like a blind seeing eye dog? Well, do I have that right? No, the dog's not blind. The person's blind. A seeing eye dog. That's the term. And, you know, that I would think would take some professional training, but I'm sure there's people that could also do that training too. And I'm sure it takes special training to train a dog to notify you if you're going to have a seizure or you have low blood sugar, or probably other uses that you could use these dogs for medical reasons. However, you know, a lot of people get it for PTSD and what have you. And I'm not saying that it's not a service animal if it helps you with PTSD. I think that's kind of borderline like emotional support myself. But personally, I don't care at the end of the day, because when I end this topic, you'll find out I don't really care if it doesn't bother me. But, you know, if somebody claims it's a service animal, it's a service animal. Unless we change the rules, regulations on, you know, maybe needing an ID or a license or something, or passing a test with that animal to show that it's a service animal, that it's a working, medically needed animal, then, you know, you're going to get people that cheat the system. Was this guy cheating the system? I really have no idea. And it's not my place to question the guy if he is cheating the system. If he is, he knows it, and he knows it's wrong, most likely. Although from his accent, he sounded like a foreigner, and, you know, maybe he just doesn't know. Or maybe it's slightly different from where he comes from. I have no idea. And again, it goes back to, it's really not me, another customer, to confront another customer about something I perceive as wrong. It would be up to that business, in this case, Taco Bell, to go over and say, hey, is this a service animal? And the guy says yes. I can tell you right now, as a business owner, I don't want to get in trouble with the ADA. That's no joke right there. If somebody says it's a service animal, as long as it's well behaved, awesome. Now, when I confronted the lady, I was like, what is your problem? Just calm down. You know, because we're there. I'm there with my child. I'm there with my wife. And this lady's causing a scene. So I spoke up and I was like, just calm down. You know, who cares? It's really quiet. He's over there in the corner. It's not bothering anyone. Well, of course, her comeback to me was, I saw a paw on the table. Now, does a service animal do that? Well, you know, an animal is an animal. At the end of the day, service animals are pretty well trained. But a paw touching the top of the tabletop is not a bad thing. Note, this is a little dog. It was on the bench next to him, in the corner, out of sight, really. I did notice it when I came in, but I do notice these things. I'm pretty observant. So I did notice a little dog, and I just was like, that guy has a dog. Oh, well, who cares, you know? But she claimed the paw might have touched the table. I didn't see that. I didn't witness that. But even if it did, that doesn't make it not a service animal. Maybe that's something the guy is working on, you know? Or maybe that was alerting the guy to something. For all we know, we don't know. She has no clue either. If I don't know, she really doesn't know. So she's making assumptions about this guy's animal. He clearly says it's a service animal. Whether it is or isn't, you know, I guess if you believe in God and hell, I guess he'll be going to hell, you know, if you're a religious person. That's up to him for knowing that he's lying about something like this. But at the end of the day, is it really a big deal? I don't think it is. Now, you have emotional support animals. That's where I got into the whole PTSD and service animals. And there's kind of is a, you know, entanglement of, well, is an emotional support animal needed? Maybe for some people it really is needed, and then it's a service animal. But somebody like me, like if I claim my dog was, I don't need my dog for anything. I don't need him to go everywhere with me. You know, in fact, I prefer not to, personally. But as a business owner, once again, I'm okay with people bringing in their animals into my business that we're opening here in Monument, Colorado, by the way. There will be more to that in another video, but we are okay with people coming in. In fact, my business partner, he has a legitimate service animal. It's actually legitimately trained even, and he's gone through great lengths to make it, you know, a service animal. But they're still per the ADA, and, you know, there's no licensing. You don't have to wear a vest. You don't have to show, obviously, disclose your medical information of all somebody can do is it a service animal? Yes. What task does it perform? But if it's going to give away your medical condition, I always found that one iffy, because if you said, well, it performs a task of notifying me of low blood sugar, well, you just kind of told somebody, well, you have issues with low blood sugar, so you're what, diabetic? Another thing with these people that want to be confrontational is, like this lady, she right away, when I question her, goes, I have a service animal, I own a service animal, and my service animal would never put its paw on the table. And, you know, she probably doesn't even own one. She's just defaulting, trying to win the argument by saying she owns a service animal. I could have lied too and said, hey, I have a service animal too. And that guy, if he says his service animal is a service animal, it's a goddamn service animal. If you don't like that, then maybe we need to petition the government to make changes to where maybe there is a licensing. But I'm sure there is a lot more that I don't understand or know why you have the right to train your own animal, and thus call it a service animal. I mean, there's nothing you can test to find out if that individual is lying or not. If the dog's well behaved, I don't see the big deal. But then, these people have the phobias, because then this lady goes on about, well, it's just disgusting. You can't have an animal in a restaurant. It's just gross, And I told her, well, I didn't really tell her. I just kind of looked at that other guy and I said, she claims she has an animal. I bet her animal puts its paw on the table and it probably licks its ass and then licks her face, and she's okay with that. And I look back over at her and she's kind of pissed off looking. It's like, oh, well, too bad, lady. You're the one that wanted to jump into that. You own a service animal and you think these animals are disgusting, but yet you said you own an animal. I guarantee my dog goes outside, probably rolls around in crap, who the hell knows, and then comes back in and you have no idea, and you're petting it and you're letting it lick at your face. I mean, we all do that as pet owners. That's okay. At no point would I ever say that animal over there that I don't even know is disgusting. It was definitely a little dog that the guy carries. So it's not even touching the ground until she complained, and then he kind of put it up under the bench, and it stayed there. He went in, got his food, got his drink. It literally stayed there. I mean, that's a pretty well behaved dog if you ask me, because my dog would have followed me over to the counter, So that seemed well behaved to me. I don't know why this lady had such a big deal about it and what her phobia and hang up is. And I know some people will say, but Mark, it takes away from, service animals by people falsely claiming their emotional support animal or whatever it is as a service animal. I don't know. Maybe it does, but why are you worried about it? Even if you have a service animal, from what I read on the ADA's website, is even if you have a service animal and that service animal, for whatever reason, starts acting up, the owner of the business can say, you have to leave. Because the animal has to behave at the end of the day. This guy's dog behaved. This lady, on the other hand, did not behave. Now, I told the guy it wasn't a big deal. Others went up to him and also said it wasn't a big deal. There was an older lady that went up to the lady and said something, and I looked over and the Karen was kind of doing the smirk and smile again, oh, look, I got reinforcement. This old lady came over and she's, she might have been oh, people, But why are you freaking out about it, walking across the road? You're not even sitting near the guy. You're not even sitting near him, and you're freaking out about it, and you're walking across. That just seems mind-blowing to me that somebody would actually do that. Now, obviously, I have a different take than a lot of people because I lived around the world growing up, from Karachi, Pakistan, to Mexico City, Mexico, to Lomé, Togo, to Moscow, Russia, to all my high school years of being in Vienna, Austria. In most places, don't care if your dog's with you if it's an outside environment. Granted, Taco Bell, this was inside, but outside environment, I don't know. We always took our family dog to the various Hoyagers and what have you in Vienna, because you were allowed to, if it, being outside, and the dog would just go under the table and lay down. No one gave a shit about your dog, Now, I don't know about inside. We never tried it, but I can recall seeing some people, and maybe they were service animals. I have no idea. It was so long ago, but it just seemed like Austrians tended not to care. Obviously, third world country, they don't give a shit at all. And like my wife pointed out a good point that she wanted to say to that lady that in Taco Bell, the Karen, is, well, you don't know what's been on that table you're sitting at, and I guarantee you the food back in the back on the counters, you have no idea what they're preparing your food on, but you're going on about whether the dog put its paw on the table. What if the teenagers came, had their feet up on the table, some snotty kid was touching that table before you sat down, and you want to complain about a dog paw? Because that was her complaint. Now, this dog was small, so I'm imagining the dog just put his paw like on the corner table. If it even occurred, it probably didn't even occur, but, if it did, it was probably like on the edge or something, and I don't know. The dog was quiet, didn't bark. That's all I care about, right? It's not interrupting my meal. But, she said it's gross. But yet, has she seen that kitchen in the back of Taco Bell? Or any restaurant, to be fair to Taco Bell, any restaurant. Have you seen the back? Have you seen the mouse trap set up? Because all restaurants get mice because, well, they have food. They get cockroaches, too. If this lady went in the back, if she's so concerned, she probably wouldn't be eating there. Now, I've ate around the world. I ate food in Lomé, Togo. I'm sure those restaurants were pretty dang questionable about the, food being left out, meat left out, flies on meat. They probably figure, it's just being cooked. I don't know. I never really got food poisoning overseas. Really, I've got more food poisoning in the U.S. than I ever have overseas. I think it's probably something to do with just how they prepare stuff, and if they know it's out, they cook it well, or they're marinating it really well and cooking it well. I don't know. But anyways, like I said, I lived overseas, so I'm a lot more relaxed on a dog in a store, a dog at a restaurant. And I get it. There's a health board, and they're outdated. They think that, animals are disgusting, kind of like this lady, and they shouldn't be at restaurants. Well, somebody claims it's a service animal again. It's a service animal. There's nothing. If I took my dog into a place and said it's a service animal, there's nothing they could do. As long as it's well behaved, if he's just sitting there, laying there, there's nothing they could do at all. The restaurant wouldn't want to chance it, because if it's a legitimate service animal and they kick you out, and then you go ahead and notify the ADA about how this business kicked out my legitimate service animal, they're going to have a lawsuit and fines on their hands for kicking out a protected class of citizen. And then that's what you are. You're a protected class. Now, obviously, a person with faking it, just saying it's a service animal, ain't gonna go much further than just complain and bitch and moan, right? But as a business owner, you don't want to take that chance. It's not worth it. Let them eat. They said it's a service animal. That's all you need to know. Now, again, like I was saying earlier, if you got a problem with how the system is, then we need to work on getting those laws and regulations changed as to what a service animal exactly is. Meaning, you're going to need some sort of ID or something saying, this is why I have a service animal. Or not even this is why. This is just, I can have a service animal. That's my service animal. Maybe that's all it says. Maybe it's a, make it affordable. It's $20 or something, and you get a card from your state that says, this is a service animal. So if somebody, business says, hey, is that a service animal? You pull out, you show your card, and all it basically says is you're allowed to have a service animal. Well, there you go. It's a process that is easy to get. You just get it through your doctor or something, and you're good to go. You pay the $20 and you get a card, or you take your doctor's note to the DMV type place, the clerk and recorder or secretary of state, depending on your state what it's called, and they give you the card for $20. Here's your ID that you're allowed to have a service animal. Now, they're still not saying that certain dog with you is a qualified service animal, but they're just saying you're allowed to have one, and most likely that's the one. Or maybe you have multiple. I don't know. Again, I'm telling you, I'm pretty relaxed on this because I think too many people stress about whether that dog's a service animal or not. Does it take away from the fact that from the real service animals? I think they all do. I mean, there's to me, it kind of ranks. If you have a seeing eye dog, that's obviously a service animal that is medically needed because it helps you out. The dog that notifies you about low blood sugar, that is medically needed. A dog that helps with notifies you about your seizure is going to come on, that is medically needed. I think medically needed is totally different than I have these emotions and war got to me and this and that and I didn't need this comfort here. I think those people should still be able to have their animal, but I think it's just a different level. It's kind of like parking in a van handicap space when you're not needing to be in a wheelchair. You're just, maybe you have a limp or something, or you have a heart condition so you can't walk far, which still always gets me, and we can do a whole video on that, because why do you need to be 10 feet closer because you just walked across Walmart or you walked across the mall? But not all medical conditions can be seen, and I know that, and that's what I'm saying. But if you can walk those 10 extra feet, I don't know, man. You can park in a normal spot too and walk another 10 extra feet. If you just walked around the mall, did laps, and I've seen people do that where they park in the handicap spot and they walk better than me. They're like whizzing around the mall and they come back and it's like, why did they need a park there? They could have parked 30 feet out and been just as fine, but it's whatever. Everyone wants to park close in that example, and I guess everyone wants a service animal too. Everyone wants to be able to bring their dog into places. And like I said, being a business owner, I personally don't mind people bringing in their animal into my business. I don't care if they bring a cat in their hand. I really don't care. It'd be kind of cool. Somebody brings their hedgehog. I don't know. It'd be like, hey, that's cool. What is that? Personally, I just don't care, because life is too short to worry about these things, really. If it makes somebody happy, it makes their day. I don't know. I don't really care if it's emotional support. I mean, I'm not talking about airlines here. I'm not talking about the right to be able to have free passage on an airline in that. I'm just talking about simply sitting down and enjoying a meal and having a time out. If the animals is quiet, it's quiet. I don't really quite understand why people get so worked up about it. And at the end of the day, it comes down to mind your own damn business. It really does. Mind your own damn business. And it's really up to the business. If you have a problem, then why don't you go ahead and contact the manager? The lady could have went up, seen if there was a manager. I think they were all high schoolers at this point at the Taco Bell, but see if there was anyone, and then make a complaint and see if they went over and had an issue with it. I guarantee you, with it being so quiet and stuff, if that guy just said, hey, this is a service animal to them, they would have said, well, nothing we can do about it, because we're not going to risk, kicking somebody out that's a protected class. You just don't do that. You just don't do that. Wow. So, kind of this video riding here, as you notice, bunch of different terrain. We used to do these rides called Breck Trek, and this was one year we're scoping out. We're over at Georgia Pass, Colorado, and we're seeing, if the trail's open, how's the snow level, and we're just having a blast going up over these, what would have been like snow drifts, the bigger piles that haven't melted yet. And it's just a hoot going out and doing stuff like that. No other tracks, no other people. And you just see how far you can get. You can see we're actually going through the snow piles. And we're not like just trying to skirt the edge or something. I'm not going to say we never skirt the side. But, we're trying to stay to the trail, and as you can see, look all the water that flows. That's why it's fun when you get out in these areas. You see how flooded they get. You see how much water accumulates and is going down the mountain, going down the road. I kind of hit the deeper section and it was a little softer. Man, these type of rides used to be a lot of fun, and this was me following the guy that would put on Breck Trek, and it was a really good event. It was just a good time, fun time, and you know, we would have a blast. In Breck Trek, it's sad it's not around anymore. I could go ahead and put it on if I wanted. I don't really do the dual sport thing anymore myself. I do know all the trails to get from Woodland Park, Colorado to Breckenridge, Colorado. We would ride all the way there and back. I would always leave from Monument, Colorado, so I'd go up Mount Herman Road to Rampart Range Road, and then go over to the meeting spot in Woodland Park at the Hungry Bear restaurant for breakfast, and then we would all meet there or at the whatever trailhead. Typically we would just say meet at Hungry Bear because that's easier, and then we would give the ride speech of how we do the ride. I usually played sweep to help anyone out, and Paul would actually be the one ahead. He'd be ahead all day because he's the lead, and he would place people at spots, and then that person would wait during the whole time until me, sweep, would come up, and I would be the last one, and then they could go. So it was also pretty cool because people would rotate through the group. You know, you never stayed. When you have like 20 to 30 people in a ride like that, you know, you kind of need to do that. You kind of need to rotate. Faster riders always seem to want to, they want to be right up behind the leader. Well, this is a long day. We leave literally, I don't know, it was like meeting at Woodland Park at Hungry Bear at like 5 a.m. Eat, get on the trail by 6. It could have even been earlier. I wouldn't get home until about 1 in the morning. So all day riding, like you're not taking breaks. We would take like a break. The only time we took a break is if I had to help somebody change a tire, or, you know, they crashed and we had to help them out and figure out what was going on and what they needed, and if they needed to go to the hospital. We did have a guy crash pretty good one year, hit his head, didn't know where he was at, didn't know anything, and finally eventually kind of came to, but he definitely had a concussion, and somebody eventually volunteered. I couldn't volunteer, and Paul couldn't volunteer. Somebody volunteered for them to ride with them to the Woodland Park Hospital, and he went and got checked out. And, you know, it turned out, yeah, he had a concussion, but, you know, he lived to ride another day. And it was a scary moment because he went down hard. I didn't get to see it. I obviously came up on it, being the last person, but it put us probably an hour behind that year. And little things like that do put you behind. The tire changing for tubes, and you would always get these people out there that, you know, have the shoddiest like bike, the most worn out rear tire, and a tube that hasn't been changed in 12 years inside that old tire, and their spare tube that they claim is new was dry rotted, and then you end up just fixing the tube that was in there, because patching it, because it's like, what the heck, you know, that tube you have is so old. So these rides were classic though. People loved them. People would come out from all over to ride Breck Trek. And, you know, this is Georgia Pass. Like I said, we're just scout. I was helping them scout. Sometimes we would scout stuff out for them. And this is 717 trail area in Woodland Park. This is actually the only legal single track over there, which is 735. It's a real short distance, and it's sad that we only have this one small legal single track. I don't know what the reasoning behind that is, because back in the day they used to have this enduro race, and there's single track everywhere. Well, anyways, hopefully you liked my rant about the service animals, liked watching these videos of riding, and you all stay well, stay safe, and at the end of the day, man, don't let it get to you. Life is too short, whether it's a service animal or not. Have a good one. Bye.